matters instead of just throwing supplies taken from the rest of its people. In our world, poverty lessens. And also to clarify, their side only targets the elderly poor, which means that poverty is not going to be sought on their side because there's still a lot of other people who don't have the money and don't get the help they need. Okay, now I'll move on to answer their attacks. They talk about targeting the aging population, but providing money for elderly will not solve or stop poverty because if elderly are given money, all of society, including the poor and disabled, will have more taxes and become poor, so this doesn't improve poverty as a whole. Two, they talked about how elderly don't depend on government, but they need this money because they don't have enough money, so obviously do rely on this money since most of them are disabled or unable to work. They talk about lack of computer access, but Wing and Zhao in 2020 have told you that infrastructure is highly beneficial in reducing poverty, which gives more money to the poor, giving them access to the money they need. And I said in this, for my first week, there will be a construction stimulus, which also helps solve this poverty problem. Access to advanced computer software isn't very expensive, so this isn't even a big problem. Four, they talk about infrastructure being too expensive, but there's a high construction stimulus that proves that a lot of money can be generated and the jobs that are made. The money that is made from the construction stimulus can then be spread out to the poor. This doesn't count as welfare programs because this money came from infrastructure and not from other ways. This construction stimulus can also pay for the billions of dollars that are used while also using it as welfare money. Infrastructure, they talk about how infrastructure doesn't create jobs, but our evidence from San Jose University shows that jobs can increase by 11%. Our evidence from Kane Puntis in 2015 shows that every $1 billion uses 13,000 jobs are created. They talk about healthcare expansion, but China already has great medical insurance according to Xi'an in 2020 and Alana in 2020, that healthcare insurance is already expanding, so we don't need to waste this money on healthcare. What we do need is to use money for roads that give people access to health. They talked about taxing the rich for the money, but money.cnn.com tells you that China's rich skip millions in taxes. Even if you try to tax them, they would just avoid the taxes, and it's been happening for years now, which means it's impossible to tax them. You must tax the middle class and lower class, which means you can't solve poverty, and therefore proud to negate.